So I would say, and we're kind of doing this I am thing, I am visionary. And finally, at 52, I'm finally unapologetically able to say that, which in many years before I maybe didn't even recognize it, or definitely felt it was too egotistical to say. So I am. I'm also very resilient. So I'm just going to kind of go back to, the beginning, which was for me, very middle class, Beaver Cleaver, New Jersey suburbs outside of New York. I was the band geek. I was super insecure. My environment was, my upbringing was smile and be pretty and nice to others and everything will be great. And I think that, our upbringings can mold us or repel us or both. And so for me, one of the things is I just was immediately drawn to Manhattan and would sneak in there even as early as 13 years old and get out on 42nd Street and wander around like a total idiot. I had no idea how dangerous that was at the time of the 80s. And then I decided to be an architect at 17. I was very lucky. I figured it out early. I went to UNC Charlotte and UCLA for my undergrad and grad. And I won't go into all the stories of the chauvinism and the prejudice. It was pretty bad, particularly in high school and undergrad. But after grad school, I was very lucky to be blessed with the most amazing bosses in the world that are probably listening. They were so empowering at KFA, Barbara and Wade. And then as mentioned, I was kind of thrown onto the first project under the new adaptive reuse ordinance in our downtown. And that kind of propelled me into the other obsession of revitalizing downtown LA. And I would just like to say, if you ever have bosses that care about your growth and development and listen to who you are, that is so priceless. So I gave birth to Omgivning in 2008, 2009, which was, at the height of the recession. I was going through divorce, I was becoming a single parent. As many naysayers or people that thought I was crazy, it was just the thing in my gut that said, I think I have to jump. I think I have to do it now. So I didn't have a business plan. And I think, I think it was it Anne that had said before about how naive you can be, but sometimes that naivete kind of propels you forward. So I think that was one of those things. And I didn't even know how to run a business or a business plan, but I kept thinking, what's important to me? What do I want this firm to be? And I knew, so I kept writing down 4 things, and it was, I wanted to focus on revitalizing downtown. I really wanted to bring architecture and interior design back together as a more cohesive, integrated practice. I was feeling like it was really starting to separate. And I want to, it's very simple. I want to work with people that I like, that are really good at what they do. That's just a really simple thing. But if you just kind of keep putting that out there, I think the right people end up coming around. And then I wanted to create a company structure that was different and that really focused on helping align people's skills and their passions. And I think that's also something that I learned from where I came from at KFA. So 10 years later, we're close to 40. We have a very female, I don't want to say dominated, but oriented and very ethnically diverse group, including 8% dogs, our architects. And yeah, so it's good. So Omgivning, the word is a Swedish word that means the way a space feels, which to me, I wanted to have a name of a firm that wasn't my last name, because my last name, Liljegren, is pretty difficult. So I found an even more difficult Swedish name, a word. But it is, it's not about me. It's about what we're doing. We're creating these spaces, and we're placemakers, I think, primarily. We tend to design from the inside out. We listen to a space. And our approach is very like large scale macro down to micro. So on the macro side, we consider ourselves urbanists, because we're looking at our projects on this like larger network of social and cultural activity, especially since we were primarily to date working in one large urban center. That kind of like amplifying local histories and facilitating neighborhood growth. We're super involved in advocacy, specifically policy reform. We're doing a lot of work with many city agencies to help write new code or to create developer incentives for primarily the reuse of buildings. And then on the small scale, on the micro side, We're humanists, right? We're really into how that space feels, and prioritizing the details like texture and form and light and color and character from that space. We really love human-centered design. So I'm just going to throw a couple projects to get a sense of the type of work. So on the big scale, this is like a 2 million square foot, adaptive reuse of a historic landmark, architecture and interiors. And we do like historic boutique hotels on Broadway. And then we also do small scale projects like restaurants and bars, where we're, kind of doing everything A to Z, including that kind of micro of custom furniture, lighting, and branding. So that's been really kind of fun to see that. We also have 3 kind of endeavors, I would call them, that we've started. One is we launched a light fixture company, and we have started product prototypes with the potential of yes, our custom furniture, but also a potential product company in the future, and development. So we're about to put an offer in on, finally, I've been talking about this, I feel like forever, a building to move our office into and have our own kind of concept for work. And it's been kind of interesting because coming out of the pandemic, I feel like the concept is even stronger now. It's not co-working, it's not a private office, it's a little bit of a blend, but that's a whole other thing to talk about. So I just want to talk a little bit about the last 7 months and kind of what we've done or how we've been getting through this. So I think in April, once we knew that we might be getting that PPP money, we're like, okay, so let's just go into survival. Like, we're going to keep all of our staff. We're going to be in this together. We just kind of made the hard decision. We're going to do that. We cut salaries. So unfortunately, people are still suffering with that, which has been really tough, but we're still all there. And, obviously really hone in on the financial review and projections and all that kind of stuff. But we knew we were going to lose work no matter what, right? So, and yes, the work has been done. It's been slowly coming back. But we knew we were going to be kind of upside down in terms of our overhead was going to be higher. So instead of just saying, hey, we'll just have these people just doing stuff, it's like, no. This is where we can really take all of that creative problem solving, juicy stuff that we're so good at and really do great stuff with it. And then that in turn will, plant seeds for the recovery of our firm and the future growth. So, for example, we did 3 kind of reimagining spaces or design charrettes in 3 particular areas. So multifamily, workplace, and urban reprogramming, which was kind of basically adaptive reuse ideas. And then a lot of advocacy. So all the things that we were already kind of working on, really trying to amp that up, working with the new DTLA 2040 adaptive reuse, and then how we can help. And a big part of all this business development was, instead of going, oh, we're just going to go out there, we need to get work. It's like, yeah, we need to get work, but how can we help our industry and others with the creative problem solving skills that we have? Like, what is it that we can do? And that will naturally bring stuff back. So we don't have to focus on the getting work, focus on the what can we do to help. And then that comes around. And then the other thing we did was we really focused on improving our performance, because it's so easy to kind of let the detail library slide and systems. And so we really amped up some systems and internal structure and really re-looked at how we were doing things, a lot of training, and kind of amped up our branding. So yeah, it was, I mean, I don't know, it's been really hard, but it's also been fantastic. I think it's forced all of us to rethink things. So I just, like last night, I was like, okay, so if I had to think about how to flip this adversity to empowerment, because I think especially right now, morale is really low for a lot of people. And I think, also just politically, and this has been going on for so long, and everyone's like, I can't take this anymore. So just trying to think of some maybe words of wisdom. But anyway, have goals to keep you going in the direction you want and you need to go in, but detach from the outcomes. So stay in the present. So keep moving, but don't get caught up in, in what's happening, but just stay present and be conscious and attentive to what you're learning every day. Think about how you can incorporate change in your life based on these new learnings, because we are learning something every day. We have to pay attention to it. And we have to care for ourselves. Listen to your mind, your body, and your soul. You need to nourish them every day, and you have to find ways to do this. I know so many of us are just, about to explode. So don't explode. Listen to your body. I think most of us are probably mind people, right? So don't be a daisy thrower, just in denial. But even worse, don't get caught up in the trap of social or news media that just sucks you into this vortex of madness. And this whole thing, this is not an abyss. This is not a hole that you'll never climb out of. You are actually okay, and you will get through this, and it will change. And when you do want to, who do you want? So think more about who do you want to become. Start moving that direction each day, little by little, with a devotion to that change. I really want people to start feeling positive about where we are, even though it's exhausting and all that kind of stuff. So I think the other thing we realized from the last 7 months was that the direction we were going was absolutely the right direction. And if anything, it's just, and I think even from like the design shreds, all the ideas that we came up with and the thinking that came around it, it wasn't like there was anything brand new. It was, wow, we've all been going in this direction. We just need to amp it up, in all aspects, whether it's human-centered design or sustainability, everything just really needs to get amped up. So in terms of the what's next, I did this thing that I'm going to kind of talk through here, which was my interstellar map, which is kind of ideas that I've been forming really since 2009 when I started it, but I couldn't even like conceptualize what they were. And now I finally at least have a graphic to kind of like talk it through. But just so, going back to 2009, it's still the same 4 things: revitalizing old buildings and neighborhoods, interconnecting architecture and interiors, working with people that we really like and collaborating, creating a company structure to help people align their skills and passions. Like, how can we create something that's different? And so I really want to turn the model of our business architecture upside down. I want to remove ego and encourage empowerment in others, and not to follow the traditional structure of big business or corporate America, that the org chart isn't a top-down thing, but it's something that looks more like a tree. Do more of our own projects and specialty projects. And, as architects and designers, we're people that want to be continuously learning. We rarely want one job or just one focus our whole lives, right? We have, outside of work, we have our different interests and passions. And a lot of those interests and passions are somehow related or connected to our industry. So why can't we interconnect some of those endeavors or passions for support and growth potential? So we're not all like reinventing the wheel all the time, or, there's this thing that's over here and then there's work that's over here. Why can't all these things kind of be interconnected? Creating a model also for sweat equity to get a piece of the pie, so architects can have more control over their financial and their emotional fulfillment with their work. I think it's just awful, how little money we make and how hard we work and how smart we are and how creative we are. So instead of trying to say, it was great to hear the gals in the last group, all the thoughts from the education side coming up, or changes in industry, or having higher fees. And I'm looking at it more from how can we change our, have a different model of how we can create income with all this passion and creativity. So, okay, so I did like 3 just human scenarios. So let's say I'm giving her number 1. Maybe this person, is working full-time at Omgivning, and they have a whole bunch of interests. They're really interested in graphic design, and they've always had this, desire, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could create my own textiles or something. And this person does a ton of volunteer work, in various components. And, so maybe in the future, like below, is that this person then, we can create a partnership with one of our fabric suppliers or designers and create a line, and that, through that company. So creating a partnership, and then this person can get the royalties through that company that we've kind of created this partnership, so that they're creating additional income from this thing that they've always had this passion on. And then maybe, you know, they're spending, I call these just OM whatever, just because I don't know what they're going to be called yet. They're all like future to be determined endeavors or companies or whatever they're going to be. But say OM Share is more of a nonprofit or volunteering thing. Maybe it's a nonprofit that we start. Maybe it's nonprofits that we're partnered with certain commitments, and that this person is really dedicated putting in time for that. So it increases their income, right? So that's more of that. The second one, maybe Omgivning, or number two, is like, hey, I really want to be an architect developer. And since that's something we definitely want to be focusing on in our firm, that maybe this person's like, hey, I don't want to work 40 hours a week because I really want to dedicate 20% of my time, or, you know, this is all just numbers, but so you get an idea. I want to dedicate some of my time to development specifically. So they have more of a leadership role, maybe in one of our development projects. They're not full-time with Omgivning, but they're kind of doing more traditional what we're doing at Omgivning. And then in the future, you know, now this person's put in sweat equity ahead of time for this development project. So now in the future, they're able to make income, supplemental income from that development property. And then the time maybe then goes into raising kids. Maybe they have, you know, 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is that they want to, you know, still not work full time, and then they have this supplemental income coming in from something. And then, you know, I'm giving her number three. Maybe they're like, hey, I still want to be involved in everything Omgivning is, but I want to be in Detroit. I want to move back home or whatever. And so the opportunity to do satellite offices or be a leader at another firm, or, you know, that's connected. So I just kind of tried to show three scenarios, but really the idea is that it could be this like totally interstellar, interconnected thing of companies that are all individual companies, or partnerships with other companies that are our friends, and we can help each other out and work together and find ways to empower each other. So that's kind of my model that I'm trying to do. Nice, easy task, I think it is.
Thank you, Karin.
Yeah, and if anybody you know, wants to join this tribe or feels like they fit in there somewhere, let me know. And I just want to encourage you also to, again, think about, you know, what you want to become, not who you are today, and move forward. Don't get stuck.